thought that we'd spend a little bit of time, I guess, practicing the disposition of being welcoming. There's a Jesuit that I worked with for a while, Brian McClory, and he had this wonderful saying. He said, "Don't only pray with your best self, or don't only meditate with your best self." I don't know about you, but I can certainly have a tendency to sort of find it nice and easy and palatable when I'm, feeling in a good mood and I'm feeling particularly holy or spiritual or enlightened or whatever it is. I can kind of bring that self into prayer. But there's quite large parts of my life which don't feel like that, and which might be harder to bring into that space, which I might feel less welcoming of myself. So, yeah, there's something about this kind of shift in season, which for me sort of reminds me of those, those parts that I really do want to be hospitable to, but maybe I find it more difficult to be hospitable to. So I have, oh, Steve, if you could let me screen share. I have a slide to show you, hopefully, which has a poem on it. It's not the end of the world if I'm not able to. Oh yeah, right. We're getting there. So there's a poem that's I really like, actually, which is by Rumi, called The Guest House. And this is just the beginning of it, actually. But I'll read it out. This being human is a guest house. Every morning, a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness, some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all. Even if they're a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture, still treat each guest honorably. So I suppose there's something, at least for me, about this invitation to learn how to treat my experience of life and of myself, as a guest, as an honorable guest, and learn to be welcoming of that experience, because whatever I'm experiencing is whatever I'm experiencing. I'm kind of trying to push it to the side or hide from it or pretend it's not there, at least for me, doesn't typically prove very fruitful or helpful. And there's an author, kind of mystical author, whose quotes I love, who says something sort of similar in this quote. He says, "Listen to your life. See it for the fathomless mystery it is, in the boredom and pain of it, no less than in the excitement and gladness. Touch, taste, smell your way to the holy and hidden heart of it, because in the last analysis, all moments are key moments, and life itself is grace. All moments are key moments, and life itself is grace." So I guess maybe this evening there's a bit of an invitation to discover that there might be grace, there might be something precious, something beautiful, something wise or helpful, even at the core of things which can feel challenging, or things that we might want to resist, might want to move away from. So I'm just going to lead you through an opportunity to see if any of these are around for you, and just be kind of curious and present to them. Yeah, so just sort of open to whatever emerges. This isn't about doing an archaeological dig where we have to get down to the depths of our, deepest neuroses or anything. This is just, okay, I'm going to be sort of open and present in this time. And if there's something that's wanting to be heard a little bit, then I'm, choosing to be welcoming of it. I hope that sounds okay. So maybe getting back into your comfortable position. I don't know if you moved, but sort of finding your posture that helps you to be present and attentive. You might want to flick your cameras off, feel free to do so. The main meditation will be recorded. We put them up on YouTube, so but there's very little of your face. It's mostly my face and the image. But yes, finding a position that's comfortable for you. Maybe noticing your points of contact with the floor or the seat beneath you. Kind of feeling that support of your physical self here this evening. Maybe also noticing underneath your feet is the same ground actually that is underneath my feet. Might be far away from it, but it's that same earth. So there's a sense in which we are also connected to each other, gathered here today, connected by this ground underneath us, as well as the desire to be here and spend this time together. Maybe for a moment also just tuning into how you are again. You did a little bit earlier. Getting back in touch with how are you just now. And then again, maybe tuning into your breath. And this time you might want to consciously sort of slow it down and take 3 or 4 deeper, longer breaths, maybe pausing slightly at the top of the inhale and pausing slightly at the bottom of the exhale. Just really paying attention to the sensations, the breath coming through your nose or mouth, the rising of your chest or your stomach, and the fall of those as the air leaves again. And notice what happens to you as you slow your breath. Does anything shift? And your breath might be a useful anchor throughout this time, something to kind of bring you back into the present if your mind wanders or you drift, but also if there's stuff that comes up that might feel a little uncomfortable, breathing through it, coming back to paying attention to your breath can be really helpful. And then having noticed how you are, once again, Saint Ignatius, founder of this spirituality, also encourages spending a moment noticing how God is. So just allowing your imagination to respond in whatever way it does. Take a moment to notice, how is your God looking at you or being with you, present at the moment? And then, given how you are, and in the presence of this God of love, what is it that you want for this time? What is it you really desire here and now? And ask for that. Maybe there's also something about asking for the grace or the gift of being open to whatever emerges and trusting that whatever comes is what is meant to come, what will be most helpful. Kind of entrust this time to that God of love who desires our wholeness and our well-being and our flourishing, who is also at work with us. So I wonder whether now you could just kind of take your attention, sort of softly noticing your life at the moment. It might be very specific, it might be this day today or this week, or it might be more general. Just kind of tuning into, yeah, who am I at the moment and what's going on for me at the moment? Relationships, work, play. So just sort of allowing the landscape of your life at the minute to be present to you. And then I wonder whether you could invite God into this next little bit and just notice, is there some part of your life, part of your experience, part of yourself that hasn't been getting very much attention recently, but might want or need some? It might be an experience in life, it might be a feeling that's around. Just allowing God to show you something that might be a little harder to welcome, but that would appreciate some of your time and attention. And I'm just going to leave a little bit of space here to see if something emerges. You don't need to push it. Just kind of remaining open and curious and seeing what comes to mind. What part of you or your life or experience is wanting a little bit of attention, wanting to be noticed. It might be that there are various things coming to mind. And if that's the case, that's okay. Be welcoming of them all, and maybe just choose the one that seems most present. Pick one of them for now. And just notice as and when something has come to mind. Notice what it is, what it's about. Kind of get in touch a little bit with the detail of this part of you or this experience. And keeping a curious attitude. And if you don't feel like you have a curious attitude, then maybe asking for the gift of a curious attitude. And I wonder whether you might now, using your imagination, invite this experience, this part, to become a guest, to take some form in your imagination of a guest that you can invite into your house, to a dining room maybe, or a living room. And just kind of be curious about what form it takes. It might be quite a kind of straightforward form, a person, a creature. It might be something a little more amorphous, and that's okay too. Just trusting whatever comes to your imagination. But invite this guest of yours into your house, into your home. Maybe have a sit down at the table or on a sofa. What are you noticing about the form that it's taken? How are you responding to this guise? What's it stirring up in you? And again, just being curious and open to whatever's going on in you as well. There's no right or wrong. It just is what it is. Maybe also God is in that room with you in some form that is helpful, encouraging, supportive. How is God appearing to you? And then I wonder if you could invite this guest that has had the courage to show up this evening to communicate something of what they are feeling or experiencing or wanting. Maybe it's in words, maybe it's in a gesture or movement or something else. But what does this guest seem to be communicating to you? And notice what it's like to hear or receive that communication. Or maybe it's a little quiet today. And how is it to notice that? And maybe for a moment also tuning into what God is noticing about the two of you. This God who has a deeper and wider and more loving perspective than most of us can get access to much of the time. So what's God noticing about this encounter, about either one of you and this guest? Maybe also ask God, what is God desiring for you and this guest? How might God be desiring your reconciliation, your wholeness? And what are you noticing that you desire? And again, if you're tuning into something, asking for that. And maybe also just spend a moment before we draw this time to a close, showing your appreciation both to this guest for showing up, for daring to show up, and also to yourself for being present, daring to welcome. And acknowledging that actually this might also have been tough, or that your guest didn't make it through the front door, or you went and hid in the bedroom. Just be appreciative for whatever has been able to happen, however small. And then in your own time, taking your leave of that place, of this guest, and God in that place, and bringing yourself back into this room and this place with this group of people. Maybe flicking on your video as and when you have returned.